Okay, everybody's got it folded. There should be one corner that's folded over. I want that corner, if it's sitting like teepee right in front of you like that, flip it over so the folded side is on the right and the open side over here where I got my hand is on the left, because I can stick my hand right in there between them, right? So I want this over here, okay, on that side. And the opening at the top, okay, so it will open this way, but it's not going to open from the bottom because the other crease is on the bottom. So if you have it sitting here like this, with the fold on the right, and you can lift the top like that, go through the different papers, then you have it the right direction. Because what's going to happen is when we unfold it, this drawing will be in the top left-hand corner. That's what we're shooting for, okay? That's why it's kind of important to follow that, so kind of get everybody on the same page so that they don't come up to me later and say, I put mine on the bottom right in the back. And I'll be like, that's about as far from what we were doing as we were trying, okay? So hopefully you'll get it top left-hand corner when it's done. And that'll happen if the fold is on the right and the fold is along the bottom. It will 100% happen correctly. All right, now we're going to see how well you draw ovals, but I'm going to show you a little easier way to draw them that will probably help a little bit. Some of you are going to struggle anyway, but for the most part, I think we're going to be all right. So the first oval we're going to draw, I'm going to draw one that goes around this way. And I'm going to start by doing kind of a parenthesis, but I'm going to keep it kind of light. Now I'm going to put another parenthesis over here on the other side of my paper that's about the same size. I'm looking at it, and I'm going, oh, that's not quite the same size, so I'll make this one just a little bit bigger so it's like the one on the other side. I'm keeping my lines light because I know I've got to change things here and there. So I got a set of parentheses on there. And then all I'm going to do is come from this parenthesis and curve my line over and meet up with the other one. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, just like that. And I'm going to come along here and do the same thing on this one on the bottom. Right, just like that, we have an oval. Okay, that's our goal. Now, if your parenthesis starts like this and like that, and you go like this, you're not going to have an oval. You're going to have, I don't know, an alien or something. Okay, so nice curve, then curve line, and we got something at least hopefully a little bit like an oval. If you absolutely can't get it, it's looking just like an egg or a Halloween candy corn or something, or just something's not right, you can always ask for some help. But hopefully you got something that's close to an oval. Now sometimes I go and draw a vertical oval, but I have found that it's easier for me just to draw what we're actually going to use, and in this case it's going to be the letter U upside down, but to make it more comfortable we'll draw it right side up. So I'm going to try to make an equal distance from my edges, meaning from here to here and here to here is about equal. So I just made a little mark so it's just as a guideline. Then I'm bring my line up, bring this line up, and then I'm going to turn my paper. I'm turning my paper instead of turning my wrist. I'm turning my paper so that I can create basically a letter U. There's a letter U right there, okay? And if I turn it right side back up, it's just an upside down U. You've been drawing the letter U since what, first grade? Maybe even sooner or earlier in your life? So hopefully it won't be too tough. Now whenever we start a drawing, we always start out with a foundation, and this is our foundation for what we're going to draw. Now we're going to make a face on here, but I'm going to let you in on a little clue. You can make that into multiple kinds of faces. We can make this a human face. We can make it a puppy dog. We could make it a kitty cat. We could make it a monkey. We could make it a chipmunk. We can make it a squirrel. We could make it a beaver. All from those two shapes put together like that. So it's pretty versatile. And it could be a whole lot of other things. I'm just not going to name them all because we want to get out of here on time today. But I'm just trying to let you know that it's only kind of limited by your imagination. A lot of faces can be created from this shape. Okay, so with that, oh, also, if I get going a little too quick, because I kind of get excited about these because I like them. But if I get going a little bit too quick, just raise your hand and let me know, and I'll try to slow it down. And if I don't look up because I'm looking at my drawing and I don't see your hand, just say, Mr. Adams, and then I'll ask you what's going on, and you can just say, can you slow down? And I say, sure, I'll slow down. Okay, on either end of where this line comes across here, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to erase just a little bit right here, and I'm going to erase a little bit right there, just like that. So I don't want it coming all the way to the end and touching either side. So I've got a little space on either side here. So this is going to look a little different. So I made my space, and right smack dab in the middle, I'm going to make kind of a V shape, but I'm going to leave a little space between. So if I drew that all the way down, it would make a V, but I don't want it down here. I just want it coming down to this line, just like that. So I'll hold that up a little closer so you can see. I've got a line coming across, and then these two lines. I'll darken this line just a little bit so it's easier for you to see, because it's not one that I'm going to erase, so I know that I can keep that dark. Okay, on either end of this line that comes across here, I'm going to put another little shorter diagonal line right there, and another shorter little diagonal line right there. So you can see what I did. They're just little tiny. Now I'm keeping this very, 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 very simplified, okay? And that's on purpose. Because when we're first starting, we don't want to get stuff that's too darn complex. This is actually going to be the eyes, and you'll see why here in just a second, or how. We're going to put a nose on it now. This will be a fairly large round nose. I'm not going to connect it at the top. I'm just going to come around. Leave it like that, just a big old nose, but it doesn't connect right there. And if it's not a perfect circle, doesn't matter, it's not a perfect nose. You might have even got punched in it one time. Who knows? And he's not very happy because he got a big old face down here. And with that said, we're going to put a frowny face come all the way across like that, okay? Hopefully you're starting to see the face come together now. And a lot of this stuff, when it's done, it looks harder than it is. But that's the whole idea, is to try to make this as simple to draw as possible, but that it looks complex when it's finished. Or more complex than it actually is. I'm just going to straighten that nose out just a little bit because it's bothering me. But now I think I got it where I want it. So when you do your finished drawing, I want it to be not that big flaw that was in there. Okay, now we're going to draw this next part really light. This is where the ears are going to go, but draw it super light because we're going to draw over part of it. We might have to erase part of it, so we don't want to draw these very dark. And these are just kind of like 3/4 circle shapes. It's basically the letter C frontwards and backwards. So we're going to just start right here, about where the top of the eye is. And we're just going to come around and bring it right down to the corner of the face. And then we're going to do one right over here and try to make it about the same size. I'm going to draw it light so I can see. When I see that's about what I want, then I'll come in here and make it just a little bit darker. Okay. As long as these ears are very similar in size, we are okay. This one I'm going to trim up just a little bit because I think he's a little too far out. But now I got two ears that are very, very, very similar in size. This one needs to come down just a little bit more so it's coming out of the face. That's why we don't try to draw very dark very much so that we can make adjustments. I'm making adjustments all over the place, but we're going to have it. The biggest thing, make sure your two ears are about the same size. That's our biggest concern right now. Not too dark. Okay, raise your hand if you need a little time to get caught up to this point, just so I know. Okay, if I don't see any hands, I'm not a mind reader. That means I'm just going to move on. All right. If you raised your hand, just give me a thumbs up when you're caught up, and then I'll know when to go. That's only if you raised your hand. Okay, on either end of the mouth of our little frown here, just put a little parenthesis on either end. This gives it a little more expression. And again, note that I always turn my paper rather than trying to turn my wrist, just to make it easier to draw. Now we're going to do the tricky part. We got our foundation on here. Right now this guy, he bald. We don't want him to be bald. We're going to put a little hair on his head. In fact, we're going to put a lot of hair on his head. So we're going to come right up to the top. This is going to be a little bit different. And I'm going to put what looks like a little bird flying right above his head. So I'm going to come right about in the middle, and I'm going to bring that down and that back up. Now notice it's not touching the top of his noggin. It's close, but it looks like a little bird flying right on top of his head. And it's just a little guy, not too big. In fact, I'm going to zoom in for some of this so we get the hair right on this. Then I'm going to draw a line that's a similar curve to it that comes in like this and like this. Now it's a bird with thick wings, okay? Or it looks like a funky letter M. It's kind of leaning over right to left. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come this way and right back to the headline. Go this way and come back to the headline. Now it looks like I got two letter M's. One's leaning off to the left and one's leaning off to the right. So if you got some curved lines that look like a letter M going two different directions, you're in good shape. Or if I really want to confuse you, now it's two W's, okay? But it's just two letter M's, okay? As long as one M's leaning to the left and one M's leaning to the right, heavy to the left and heavy to the right, not up and down, straight up and down, but heavy to left and right, you're in good shape. That's the good news. Is everybody okay, or do anybody need time to get beyond this point, or to this point? Okay, so the next line we're going to do, we're going to come just a little off. The hairline's going to be a little bit longer. We're going to come off and then come back to the hairline, just like that. Whatever I do on the left, I'm going to do the same thing on the right. Come a little off the hairline and coming back to the hairline. Not hairline, but headline. Basically, that's kind of like a check mark. But it follows the curve of the head. Now, if I just put a little hairline across the front, that'd be quite the haircut, but that's not what we're doing. So he's going to have a little longer hair than that. Everybody with me so far? Anybody need another second? Okay, we're going to come down here by the ear, and we're going to make a line that curves kind of from the face and goes right back up to this hairline. So I'm going to go right in front of the ear, coming off the face, coming up, getting right onto the hairline, and bringing this up and darken it right up to that line I just made. See how that just comes right in front of the ear a little bit? Looks like a miniature sideburn right there. And again, what we do on one side, we do on the other side. So I'm going to come up this side and do the same thing. That does serve a purpose, and it's not to give him micro sideburns. Oh, they sure look like micro sideburns right now. Okay, we need to use the other end of our pencil. So right now we're going to come over here and erase that little part that we just drew over. That just cleans that up. Now if we look at that, no more mini sideburns. We shaved. Okay, here's where things are going to get a little different. I don't think I really want to draw a guideline, but I might just to help you. So I'm going to come down a little way. I'm coming down the forehead a little ways. I'm going to put a light guideline going this way. Just very, very light, because I don't even want to see this. Really just enough that I know where I'm at as a guideline, because it's going to be erased, so we don't want it to be very, very strong lines. See how light that is? And it goes right to where we stop that line and right to where we stop that line on that side. And basically it's where the part in his hair is going to go. But we got to put some hair texture on here before we're finished here. So it's just a light guideline. And so now we're going to make kind of a zigzag line goes to the left and a zigzag line that's going to go to the right with a slight curve. So I'm going to come out away from my line a little bit. So here's my guideline. I've curved out away, and then I'm going to just curve it back in. So it looks like a little check mark. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to curve out, and I'm going to curve back in. I did it on the left. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do the same thing on the right. I'm going to curve out a little bit, bring it back, curve out a little bit, bring it back. So I got it going both ways. Now I'm going to go from that last line and bring it down to this line. So I'm going to come here and curve down to here, come up, and then finish it off by bringing it to a point right down below the ear. Okay, so that's one side of his hair right there. Now if we drew those guidelines light enough, we might not have to erase them because we're going to color his hair in a little bit with our pencil and they'll disappear then. But if you drew them dark, those guidelines, then you will have to erase them because you don't want them showing through. So I did that on this side. Is everybody up with me this far? Does anybody need a second? Because sometimes this confuses people. All right, go ahead. Give me a thumbs up if you raised your hand, and then I'll know to move on. Now when drawing hair, less is more a lot of times. I didn't draw every single hair follicle on his head, okay? I didn't draw 50,000 hairs because one, it's a waste of time, and two, it's not needed in a cartoon type character. So that's why we didn't draw 1,000,000 of them on there. We don't need them. So now we're going to finish this side by doing it the same way. We're just going to come right here and bring it down to the line, up, and then right to the end, just like that. That's where his little, he didn't really have sideburns, he just got long bangs grow down the side of his head. Inside the ear. Has everybody got that before I move on to the ear? Okay. Inside the ear, just draw a parallel line that starts right here, goes Goes around, 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 and stops. Doesn't have to go all the way and touch. You do it on one side, do it on the other side. It's a parallel line, meaning it's not touching the line outside of it. Bring that one down just a little more. And then all we need to do to finish this here out in a cartoon style is bring another little line right here, comes out and parallels and just stops. Just a little short line, okay? It's not a long line. Same thing on this side, a little short line, just like that. And then I'm going to add a bottom lip right here just by, we got this line here, and I'm just going to put a little parallel line right there just like that. And kind of gives him a little more emphasis, and he's got his bottom lip. And we just got a couple more things to do, and this dude will be done. Okay, so he's a pretty big dude. Okay, this is not a little guy, he's a pretty big guy. So I'm not going to come down here and put a little skinny pencil neck geek type neck on him, okay, because it wouldn't hold his head up. His head just will fall right over like that, okay? You're not going to really see his neck because he's just like, yeah, I'm a big dude, I don't have no neck. Okay, so he's going to come up here. We're going to come up about halfway up the cheek on each side and just put a curved line that goes right off the edge of the paper, and one over here going straight across just like that, and that's his shoulders right there, okay? You don't see his neck. Great, and I need you to stay turned around, okay? Now we're going to come around the outer edge of the face because we drew that light to start with. Now that we're all finished with basically the line drawing part of this, this is when we make our lines dark and not any sooner. If it's a line that you know you're going to have to erase some of it, you save this to the very end to make dark. Because what happens if we make them dark to start with and we go to erase? They don't erase so good. As some of you found out in the grading of your fishes that you just got back a little while ago. Now it's okay to go a little bit dark. Now before I do this next part, we're going to talk a little bit. A lot of you are pretty good at the line drawing. The coloring stuff, or shading in, coloring and that, some are very good, and some need a little practice. So we're going to show you what good practice looks like versus bad practice. So if I got to fill in an area, and I'm using my pencil, and I'm going to use the side of my pencil. I'm not holding my pencil up like this, like I'm writing a letter. I'm using the side of my pencil. I'm going to come along. If I'm coloring something in, and it's nice and smooth and even. Okay? So that when you look at it, you don't really see their focus. You can't really see individual lines. That's what good coloring looks like. It's also the basis for learning how to shade later. The difference between shading and coloring is coloring, everything's going to be the same darkness, okay? There's no variation. In shading, you vary from dark to light or light to dark. There's gradations. But with coloring, it's the same. What is this? Okay, this is what happens when you have space between your lines, okay? That is scribbling. This is a no, 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 and oh heck no, okay? We want to get away from this in this class. This we want to avoid, like, go away, we don't want you, okay? This over here, yes, please, very much. So when we go to do this, we're going to color in his hair. Using the side of my pencil, I'm coloring it in, and I'm trying to keep it good and even and not get a bunch of space between my lines. If I get a little tiny space, I just go back over it and fill them in real quick. But you'll notice where I have colored so far, pretty dang even, okay? Not a lot of space. That's our goal. We'll just take our time and go through this. There's no prize for being the first one done. We just want to do it to the best of our ability. That's our goal here. Art is never a race. That's whatever it takes to get a job done and done well. Like I say, some of you are really good at this, and some of you got to eventually develop the skill to not have a bunch of space between your lines. It's just learned through practice over and over and over again. So this is a good one to learn on because this is the practice, guided practice day. That means it's not graded. When we draw one later for a grade, hopefully we've got some of these skills developed a little bit. And then your graded drawing will hopefully do a little bit better. Notice I'm turning my paper again even when I'm coloring. I don't want to break my wrist. It's easier to turn the paper. Way easier to turn the paper. If I'm using the side of my pencil, I get a lot smoother line than if I'm holding it straight up like writing a letter. This is why it's so important to not use mechanical pencils in here. It's virtually impossible to use the side of it like this. Mechanical pencils are wonderful for just doing line drawings and for math class. But for shading and coloring, not my favorite. Okay, so when it's done, that's hair all colored in. Looks pretty nice, doesn't look scribbled in, and that's what we want. Darkening a little bit here, and a little bit there. Okay, so the other thing, when you're coloring something in, it's important that you go the direction of whatever the subject line is. In this case, my lines are going down this way, so would I color it in this way? That would be the opposite of the direction of the hair flow, right? So when we're coloring, we want to follow the flow of the hair. I don't want to come across here horizontally when everything's going at kind of a diagonal or vertical. Remember that, remember that, remember that, remember that, okay? So that when we're drawing and doing other things, that same thing applies. Who still needs a little time to finish coloring it in? Because I know some of you are being really careful, okay? If you raise your hand, just give me a thumbs up, and then I'll know to go on to our next character. I have great faith in you guys that this will look like our grumpy little tough guy here, okay? So I'll look forward to seeing him at the end of class. Now we're going to open up our paper. So now our little tough guy's over here who's not so happy. And when we open it up, we got a blank spot on the right. Okay, so yay, and the crease going right down the middle. That's where our fold is. If that fold isn't peeking up like that, you're backwards, because that means you're on this side and the fold is going this way. Okay, we want it to poke up like a little tent. All right, we learned how to draw an oval on the first one. And that was so much fun, we're going to do another one. We're going to start off the same way, but we're going to do a totally different character. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to leave myself a little space on either side. I don't want to draw all the way to the edge of my page. And I'm going to put a light parenthesis on this side. Come across, put another one over here. Keeping it fairly light. Okay, so I got both sides, and I'll connect them with that curved line. Always kind of paying attention that I'm not getting my lines too dark. Now I got another oval. Nice big fat oval. I don't want this to be skinny. We're not drawing a hot dog, okay? And we're going to do the same exact thing that we did before. We're going to put that U, upside down U on it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to kind of measure so it's got the same distance from the edge when I come in. Put one about right here, one about right here, so pretty close. Get my line started. And start to curve. Bring this one up, start to curve. And then I just bring it over the top. Make sure that you're got a little room to draw in here. If you make this too short, you're not going to have any room where your eyes and stuff are going to go in here, okay? So if you made this little short one, you're going to have little teeny eyes. If you made it really long, you're going to have enormous eyes. So to start with, it looks a lot like this did, but to finish with, it's not going to look anything like it. And how do I know it's not going to look anything like it? Because I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to put a curved line that looks like a big little frown right there. Like I got a super fat baby that's giving me a little frown, and I can put a nose and a set of eyes and look like a little baby, but it's not going to be. This just follows kind of the curve here. It's just a shorter one, right in the middle. And then I'm going to make a V shape that comes this way and comes this way. Just kind of round it off at the bottom. That's definitely not the nose of the character to the left. This is a totally different nose. Anybody want to guess what it's going to be? A what? A gnome? What do you think? A doge. What do you think, Sophie? Getting warmer. Hey, good job, Aiden. It's going to be a dog. Okay. A doge is the guy that works for Trump and is over finances, also known as Elon Musk. That's his name. That's his job. Okay. All right, so we're going to come right here, and we're going to put the outline for where his eyes are going to go. Anybody that's ever gone by McDonald's and seen the McDonald's arch will appreciate this. I'm going to make a little mark here and a little mark here so I have an even space from the edge to this. So I keep these even, and I'm going to come up, and I'm going to McDonaldize this. Do the same thing over here. Now I'm going to bring them together in the middle. Kind of like the McDonald's arch right in the middle, okay? Or it could look like the number 3 got stretched way out. If you put it on the side, okay? Kind of like a 3 that's way out there. And I noticed I curved in a little more on that other side than I did on this side, so I'm going to make this one more similar to the other side. What? A specific dog? Yes, it's this specific dog. If you mean, is this a character known throughout the world? No. Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, back at the pass, we need to get things put on here. Okay, we're going to put the ears on, so pay attention because it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to put a couple of little antennas coming off the top of his head. This is not centered over the eye. It's just a little to the right of the top of the eye. So this is little antenna that goes up like this and curves over. I'm going to come over here on the other side and do the same thing and curve one over. Just like that. So I need to curve out just a little bit. Wasn't curving out quite far enough. So he looks like a bug. pay attention here so you don't get lost. We're going to make it an ear now. It's going to come all the way down and curve back in under the face. There's one ear. It's a big old ear, not a little old ear. We're going to do it. We're going to have big old time, have big old ear. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to do the same thing. Come around outside the face, and curve it right back up into the face. Okay? And I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, I need that to come out a little further, so I'm making an adjustment. Doop. It's all adjusted. Now my ear's more even. So when I do that kind of stuff, you should be checking yours too. Like if you go, oh man, this distance from here to here is way different on one than it is on the other, what should you do? Learn this part of your pencil and go, hello, Mr. Eraser, I need your help. Come over here and help me adjust this and then redraw the line and get them closer, okay? So that they're more even. Yes, you should fix it. That is the correct answer. Okay, now we have our foundation to build our dog on. Has everybody got an ear on there, I hope, or two? Okay, this ear kind of goes up and folds over, so we're going to come in here and we're going to put a little line that comes right from here, and it's a little bit curved, and it stops. That shows the ear going up and then folding over. We're going to do another one over here. Shows where the ear goes up and then folds over. Okay? Got to kind of flip back. Right above our eye space, I'm going to put like a little letter M, and that's his little brow right there. Would have drawn these ears a little bit different. You could literally use this kind of format and create Grommet from Wallace and Gromit. It wouldn't be too hard to do. And you could also create Wallace fairly easy using ovals and stuff. I just watched Wallace and Gromit over the weekend, the new one. It was actually pretty funny. So. All right, eyes. Couple of ovals. We did ovals for the face. We're going to do some ovals for the eyes. Big old ovals right here. There's one. There's the other one. Okay, if your oval looks like a jelly bean, you again need to visit this end of the pencil. Now I'm going to put a little oval right here that angles at a diagonal, and a little oval here that angles at a diagonal, so they kind of angle towards each other. And then I'm going to have a little fun and make it all black. So whenever we color in something black, we go around the edge or the perimeter of whatever subject that we're doing. In this case, that's the shine. Now I'm going to come around the perimeter of the eyeball itself, right here. I don't just start randomly coloring. I do the edges first. That way I know I don't go past my edges or inside my edges. And then all I got to do is color in what's left. And that way I got a lot more even, a lot nicer finish. So there's one eye. It's nice and black and looks really good. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Do on the outer edge. Just like that. Then come around here and do the same thing. Okay, now I got two nice dark eyes there, just like that. And notice that there is no space between my lines, solid black, yes. No, because we're out of here in less than 5 minutes, okay? In fact, we're going to start cleaning up here in about 3. So, I'm going to try to get as far as I can on this before we stop. I'm going to darken my line that comes around the top of my head right here, but I'm going to come up here and stop right there at the ear. Start again at the other part of the ear, and then come over here and do the same thing. Just like that. Then I'm going to erase it where it goes across here. This way it makes it look like the ear comes right out of the head and is not separated or cut off from the head. Hopefully that makes sense. Give that a good tap, and then tap the one on the left. The left, right there. Left. Your other left. On the bottom. Perfect. Thank you. We're good. we're all back in business. Thank you for your help. Thanks for being on the ball. Okay, we're going to put his mouth on here. We're going to kind of hurry here. We'll finish him up tomorrow, but we got to get our main stuff on here. So right here is the center. I'm going to bring a little dot down from the center so I know where it is. That's a little mark right there that I put there. It's right below the point of the nose. I'm going to put a nice little happy face and then another little happy face, just like that. Curve them up slightly at the ends. And then I'm going to put a little tail around here, a little tail end around here, just like that. And then I'm going to put a parenthesis on each side. And I'm going to bring these up just a little bit because this is more of his muzzle. And then this is the rest of his mouth right here. Now we're going kind of in a hurry because we're going to clean up right after the next two things that we're going to draw. I'm going to put his tongue on him. Again, just kind of a U shape right here in the middle. Little line going down the center. And then I'm going to put a little chin right here, and this is just tiny. Comes up, kind of goes right to the edge. It's just right down there at the bottom. It's not a big one. Don't make it great big like he's... If you know who Jay Leno is, he has a giant chin. We don't want a Jay Leno dog. Okay, so we're going to call this good for today. We're going to finish him up tomorrow. And good job of following along and keeping quiet. It's much appreciated.